And welcome to Pitchfork Lunch. Yes, I am Michael Caratenuto at Diablo00 on X, artist formerly known as the Twitter. You can see the show live there. Also, my IG, michael.caratenuto.5 on Instagram, as well as subscribe to the YouTube channel, y'all. If you've missed any shows, any interviews, which you've missed a ton of interviews, a ton of shows, and you can get all caught up. You can binge watch and enjoy it all to say the least. To say the least, and you can get all caught up, but go to my YouTube channel. It's at Emmons and Michael V's and Victory C's and Cat 005 on YouTube, at MVC005 on YouTube, and subscribe. There is a ton there. So again, I'm telling you, you can check it all out. Coming up in about 10 minutes, Chris Karpman will be joining us, the publisher of Sun Devil Source, for 24/7 Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. And yes, he definitely rocks it. So yes, he is a Sun Devil insider, and it is you want to get his insights, obviously. Territorial Cup game day, men's hoops at Desert Financial Arena. at DFA tonight, 8 p.m. It is senior night, so get there a little bit early to see the seniors honored and all that good stuff, because it is, man, looking to get a win tonight too as well. So that to me is that to me is obviously a huge matchup. Talked about obviously matchups yesterday. So right now, before Chris jumps on, we are going to hear from Coach Hurley, talking about obviously this game, senior night, his son being honored and stuff like that as a senior. So all the very cool stuff. But yes, we will hear from Coach Hurley. So without further ado, here is Coach Hurley talking U of A and the game tonight.
To see Bobby walk through out to half court, that's gonna be a tough moment.
What do you think you've learned the most as a father or coach, working with your son in this way?
Just that, it's a partnership, and he's really, he and I are so close, and we built such a strong connection, and I just can't be any prouder of someone that is a good student, that works as hard as he's worked, and he's just a tremendous example, for our program, and I'm just proud of our relationship, really, that we have the type of friendship that I think is so special to me.
Not that it's easy, but to piggyback off that, do you have, the line between like dad and coach at the beginning, was that, a little challenging for you and him too?
Look, he'll have some bad body language moments, and sometimes it's not easy to navigate if I say something, but I just try and allow him to have his moment of displeasure if I say something to him in a critical way from a basketball standpoint, and then we just keep it moving.
He hasn't had a lot of meaningful minutes, but the other night when you put him in when the first team was struggling, how nice was it for you to see him go in the game in a situation like that with the rest of the other guys and really put in some good minutes?
Well, I think the basketball gods rewarded him because of how hard he works and the extra time he puts in working on his game, and he's had to battle through a wrist injury this year, so it hasn't always been smooth, perfect for him this year, but just the amount of time he's invested the last couple of years to get himself in a situation where he's not out of place in a situation like that, and I think he went in there with confidence because of the work he puts in.
Does the word revenge get used in practice this week, or how do you guys address?
I don't know how anybody responds to going through something like that. I know how I would feel. I've been through it. I've lost like that as a player. So I certainly would take it personal, but it's just it's hard to know. So many things happen now. One thing's done, you move on to something else. Is it really in your body to just feel that pain and to try and make a different result this time? I don't know where everyone stands in that area.
Looking forward to finding out.
As competitors, it's why I'm thankful and grateful to be the head coach of Arizona State, because I get to go and play and coach and do what I love to do in games like this. This is what it's all about as a competitor.
Obviously, the inside game was a big problem the last time you played them, and guys picking up fouls early. So, how do you kind of guard against that, or do you tell your guys to maybe not be as aggressive early, or how do you kind of try and combat that?
Yeah, I don't think we're alone in having a hard time with fouls. Certainly, when you're talking about a guy like Malo that's as big and athletic and physical as he is, you're going to be put in some compromising situations, and we hope that we could do a better job using our speed and our footwork and not get tangled up around the basket. But overall, it was we didn't do a good job in the first half of understanding game situations, and we turned the ball over early in possessions a couple of times, took a couple of tough contested shots, and before you knew it, it was a double-figure game. So when you're playing a team that's this good, you can't afford to shoot yourself in the foot. You have to manage the game well. If you have a great opportunity in the open court, you have to take it. If you don't, then you have to make them guard you and force them to defend in the half court. So hopefully we have a better understanding of that concept, because if it's just straight up and down, then we don't have a chance, because they're too good inside and they have too many guys who can drive the basketball and score.
Bryson revealed the medical stuff earlier. What was that like as a coach going through that, and how the impact of that on the team?
It's just been tough, because I've wanted to say, how misfortunate Bryson has been through this, but trying to just, with his medical privacy and respected when his timetable and when he wanted to talk about it, I feel terrible for him. I remember, being with him on Christmas Eve and seeing him, at the hospital with his family, and just to have to go through something like that, particularly on a holiday like that, and then the uncertainty that he's gone through just with all the testing to try and figure out exactly, what the issue is and what caused it. So I think we're getting closer to that point. Bryson's been around the team more now, and it's been great having him, and we're just going to continue to support him, and hopefully we get some closure to this and he's able to move on.
When you saw, when he was in the portal, obviously, he's a local guy. What was it about him that you said, I think this guy can help our program?
Just, I think he's scrappy. I thought that he's kind of what I look for, a guy that is going to play hard. He's going to give you everything that you have. He's a great program guy. He's a great team guy. He never complained about anything early in the season, playing time or whatever. He's a guy that shows up every day and works. And we talked with people that were close to him, and that's everything that I was told about his character. And I think he's got tremendous character. And then you're always trying to find guys that can put the ball in the basket. And when he did have some opportunities this year, he was able to do that.
Coach, when you talk about matchups for this game too, I know last time their bench scoring was big, and you're talking about if they're just going up and down the court, it's one thing, but obviously without giving away the game plan, is that one of your bigger adjustments this game, is just limiting their bench points?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to have guys that are playing considerably better than what their averages are, especially a team like that. You want to try and you're gonna give some things up, unfortunately, to guys like Balo and Caleb Love, and you got to try and contain some of the guys that maybe over the course of the whole season have not had those type of stats. And we had, Bradley was one of those players in the first game, and he's a really good player. He was a McDonald's All-American, so it's for a guy like that to be coming off the bench, that just shows you, what an impressive group of players that Arizona has put together. Thank you, guys.
And there is Coach Hurley ahead of that. And the bench points, talked about it yesterday, was a huge advantage for that team down south in the last matchup. And they definitely had their issues. We are going to take a quick 30-second break. And when we get back, the man, Chris Karpman, joining us here on Pitchfork Lunch. Stick with us as we break this game down and get some awesome conversation about just the level that analytics has went to, especially with hoops.
Audio Jungle.
right, we are back here on Pitchfork Lunch, and yes, without further ado, let's get the man in here as he has been around quite a few of these games, just like I have, and always despised that so many people from that city in Tucson could get tickets and almost turn it into another home game 100 miles up. But he is the publisher of Sun Devil Source for 24/7 Sports, a man who I hope does not ever enter the transfer portal. Chris Karpman joining me here. Chris, hey, my friend, thank you so much for jumping on. And I know you jumped in. You heard obviously you were there yesterday. You heard Coach talking about that. But when we start breaking down this game, I mean, look, starters is one thing, but when you get killed off the bench by 35 points, I know yesterday I said I'm overstating the obvious, and I know you know this. You get killed off the bench by 35 points, you really have no chance to win a game.
Well, yeah, but bench differential is never going to be a good factor for ASU just because they're so shallow, right? They probably have 7 guys, maybe 8 guys on some nights that have a chance to put the ball in the basket more than just coincidentally. So I felt like the first game pretty clearly was determined by the foul trouble that ASU got in really early on. Right. You had, of course, Phillips and Gaffney with 2 fouls super early. ASU was very competitive, even winning the game in the first, whatever it was, 5-6 minutes. And then after the foul trouble, it just fell apart, pretty quickly on them. So keys to this game really are figuring out a way to swarm Ballo on the interior, force him to kick the ball out. You're going to have to live with some 3-point shots that they're going to take. And they have one of the best shooters in the country. I would say hit, 2 or 3 threes that were just like, really difficult shots against ASU down there. First time around. But you do need whoever's coming off the bench to play effectively, even if they're not necessarily scoring. I just don't, bench differential is probably not one of my personal keys.
Right. And okay, speaking of matchups, so like I said, with the length Arizona has, and obviously Ballo being one of the guys, but if you were to start like Gaffney and Phillips, I mean, do you think that, especially with, the way Gaffney's been playing, has played defense all year, but I mean, would it be in Bobby Hurley's advantage in your eyes to maybe start those two to get that extra length on the court to, like you said, challenge those shots down low?
It's one school of thought. I don't know if there's definitely a right answer, but that wouldn't be my approach. I feel like what's given Arizona problems is more on the other side of the floor when you have a mobile big who's able to force Ballo into some difficult situations. Phillips, I like him. You think he's a good player and he's going to end up probably having a long professional career somewhere. But he's kind of overmatched in this game. The idea of going 2 big doubles to try to force Ballo, I don't think really changes things that much versus having a guard bring help that then is a gnat pest, sort of whatever you want to call it, that then tries to force the ball out and then allows you to still try to rotate and close out to the line, 3-point line. The other sort of downside to playing both of those guys together is you actually invite more foul trouble potentially because you have more opportunities for guys on the floor that you need to sort of preserve. We know that Brian Salabange is an undersized guy who struggles to handle that level of size and athleticism. So you have to deny the ball to Ballo as much as you can. And then when he gets the ball, you have to chase it out of his hands. And if Caleb Love is hitting threes, or are there other guys who can make threes are doing so, then it's going to make it hard unless you have an atypical shooting performance yourself.
Okay, so rewinding a teeny bit, with ASU beating Washington State, in your eyes, Washington State obviously sweeping Arizona this year, but yes, Washington State is a good team. I get that. I talked about that yesterday. But what is it that you see that Washington State was able to do to beat Arizona not once, obviously, like I said, but twice this year.
Basketball is a lot about matchups, and Washington State has size to sort of combat what Arizona does on the interior to some degree and plays a very savvy style that I think enhances that. ASU has struggled with the teams that have that type of a post presence that Arizona has and other teams in the past. Again, I think it's really more about matchups. For whatever reason, Washington State's a better matchup for Arizona than ASU seems to be based upon their personnel and their style of play. I think those are the two main factors. ASU then is a pretty decent matchup with Washington State, obviously won that game and whatever. So if I think one of the most interesting subplots of the conclusion of this season will be which team gets the number 1 and number 2 seeds in the Pac-12, and then where ASU ends up, because if the most likely scenarios put ASU somewhere between 7, 8, 9, 10, and those seeds all end up playing the 1 or the 2 seed, which is probably Arizona or Washington State. So as we, it's too many permutations of what could happen right now. But once we get through another game or two, we're going to have a much better understanding of where ASU will likely fall in the bracket. And I think that will be very interesting, because first round matchups, ASU can beat everybody. Second round matchup, we saw Washington State. I guess we'll find out tonight if maybe how much of an anomaly or not the Arizona game was. I personally think it's a bad matchup for ASU. They'll probably struggle. But Arizona does turn the ball over a decent amount playing the style that it does. Maybe ASU playing at home will be able to capitalize on some of that, generate some live ball turnovers that lead to fast break points off turnovers. That's super important for ASU.
Yeah, and I mean, I touched on that yesterday too, how obviously Arizona's a talented team. Do I think that they're 45 points better? I mean, look, homer or not, no. It's like you said, it's college basketball. The wheels can fall off, and they obviously did in Tucson. When you look at, I mean, obviously what Frankie Collins and even like Jemiah Neal have done, this year, and, being, like you said, whether it be injuries or just kind of undersized down low, those two, I mean, have really crashed the boards. How have you seen, like, yes, with what they've been able to do, but just the growth in their games, and, maybe more so towards Frankie Collins, like what his growth, even though, like I said, they're a 500 team, but what it's meant to ASU in this back stretch now of the Pac-12 season?
Well, his 3-point shooting improved quite a bit this year, which then opens a lot of things up about his game. Like, before, you could go under screens and let him shoot the ball and prevent him from getting downhill, and it was fine. But you can't really do that now. He's shown second half of some of these games, he's hit 2, 3, 4 3-pointers, and then you have to basically handle him differently in ball screens, which then allows him to be able to chase the ball down to the rim. And he's a good passer. He's strong as a finisher around the basket. If he was a good free throw shooter, I mean, he'd be really potent. And really, you can make a case that ASU should even be trying to get him into more of these situations, given its broader offensive challenges. The things that are most effective for ASU based on the analytics are Adam Miller spot up opportunities, ISO opportunities. He hit the two corner threes in the second half against Washington State that were emblematic of that. Jose Perez's ability as a mid-range scorer, the way that he's able to, crafty, herky-jerky kind of create shots and get to the foul line. And then Sean Phillips is pretty good from the block, especially the right block. So you should really be trying to work the ball inside to him and move out. And then Frankie Collins, he's a 3-level scorer who has the ability to kind of do everything. Those are the most efficient ways that ASU has the ability to put the ball in the basket.
Right, absolutely. And okay, so before we get to the insane analytics that we were talking yesterday, so I mean, you kind of led to it right there. I mean, they have to limit U of A, cost turnovers, but ASU will win this game if what?
ASU will win this game if it has one of its best shooting performances of the season and is not overly reliant on the three-point shot and easily comes out on top in turnover margin and points off turnovers, fast break points, and it is able to keep all of its best players on the floor for 35 minutes. I mean, and even that, it's probably going to take more. Like Arizona has to not have one of its, has to probably have a below average shooting performance from the perimeter.
Yeah, I would not vote against that. I'm with you. But all right, so as we transition to the analytics, like we were talking yesterday, and I again found this so interesting. So ASU, unfortunately, like you were saying, is one of the analytically not so good shooting teams in the country. But when you inserting analytics obviously into the game is huge, and when we look at it, but I asked you, and I said I want to get into today. So what are those numbers? And then break down like the how it's like doing it per individual player.
Yeah, so it's evolved quite a lot over the last 10 to 15 years, I would say. People are familiar with like Ken Palm, which tracks efficiency on offense and defense as key metrics and how those things are derived. But then there's other analytics that are becoming really popular and common. Synergy is one of the most well-known ones, and it has been for a lot of years. And then others like shot quality and a couple others are out there that they all have their own algorithms. But essentially what they're trying to do is not just tell you what is your offensive efficiency based upon your conversion rate at different, whether you're at the basket or a three-point shot or whatever. But beyond that, what each individual player is capable of doing or what their averages are in certain respects, like catch and shoot three versus off the bounce three, contested three, uncontested three in both of these situations. How often teams make their contested layups, uncontested layups, the value of a two-point shot for a particular player versus somebody else. And you kind of put all these things together and it gives you an idea of what you should be trying to do on offense. And what's happened really in the last year or two that's a differentiator is that AI has become a big factor. So I talked to someone who runs Shot Quality, which is one of these newer statistical modeling companies that does a lot of these things. They have every single game in the country is being evaluated by AI to determine how close a defender is, the type of shot that was taken, and then the quality of shot that is adjusted for everybody in the country who would take that shot, and then that individual player based upon their prior history, essentially. So you have the ability to look at every single possession, every single shot, and evaluate the decisions that are made on the court. Now, of course, it's hard in real time for basketball players to, when you're factoring in the type of defense, the time and score of a game, the where the shot clock is at relative to the type of shot that you're going to be taking and your ability to get a better shot. All of those things are these variables that make it very difficult for players on the fly to be able to know what they should be, what constitutes a very good shot, a decent shot, a poor shot. But the teams, I think, at least, that are focused on these things and structuring what they're doing around trying to have as many of the very good to great shot quality as possible. I think that is those teams are going to be more successful on average. And also um, we're now at a place with a lot of this data that these things, with the transfer portal being as big as it is, should be factors in the evaluation process of who you bring into your program, because a lot of these players already have a year to 3 years of data on them that you're able to identify how good that they are in all these variety of situations. And then you can sort for that among the options that you have in a portal for the style of play that you typically run, and also what your needs are for a particular roster, right? So, I asked Bobby Hurley about this yesterday. I'm going to write a story on it. I haven't finished it, but his dad's a legendary high school coach.
Oh yeah.
They weren't using analytics. You know what I mean? It was, I'll give you an analogy. There was no computers in cars when mechanics were figuring out what was wrong with vehicles and how to fix things and all this stuff. It was a little bit of a simpler era. You could identify things by sounds and by vision and whatever. You don't have to plug into a diagnostic like you do now with the way that computers are.
Right.
At the same time, cars theoretically can be better, but also there's a lot more moving parts, which then makes it maybe a little bit more difficult to resolve things. So that's why some people, they love their 1980 something truck that they've driven for 500,000 miles. And it's just a matter of finding parts when things break down. But you have in basketball, NBA and college, a wide range of the very heavily analytics based type teams in terms of style of play and personnel. And then you have the, still using analytics, but at a much less salinity of to them. And so you have to kind of I don't know necessarily if one of those is provably right versus another, but I do think that this stuff matters and you have to be very aware of it.
Yeah, because the first thing I thought of, and to your point when you're saying it, like, if you just start seeing the analytics and get in a player's head, like, you're taking away almost like them overthinking it and not just playing the game. And to your point, we've talked about it. Obviously, what Bobby Hurley wants on offense, a more free-flowing offense, kind of giving guys their way to go. So it's almost like, yes, it could be a bad shot, but if it's a bad shot, then it's a bad shot. But if you're getting into a guy saying, oh, well, I dribbled, I can't shoot it here. But if you're open, like, it almost goes too far. So like you said, I know everybody can use it as per what they want to, but do you almost see it to a point where it's just getting into too many people's heads?
That's where I think good coaching separates. I think good coaching is communication. It's experience-based. It's, using film to illustrate situations. Alonzo Gaffney, his shot looks good coming off his hand, but he just happens to be a significantly better catch and shoot 3-point option versus when the ball's on the ground or when he's coming off of the move. And so really he shouldn't be shooting threes that aren't of the catch and shoot variety unless he has to, as an example. Jemiah Neal is he's shown that he has the ability to make a lot of shots from a lot of different places on the floor. But also the analytics indicate that his shots that are off the dribble that are contested have a much lower overall offensive efficiency relative to other shots that potentially on average are attainable within an offense. So you have to sort of, it is true that if you're a coach, you want your players to play with confidence, but it factors into your style of play such that should you be running more set pieces to run Adam Miller off stagger screens, or against certain types of defensive players, do you need to get into P&R situations with Frankie Collins and a big who can also shoot the ball like Gaffney on pick and pop or pick and roll? So you have to, in my opinion, you really should be crafting your offense such that you get a higher percentage of the shots that you want based upon the things that you run for analytics without trying to take anything away from your players being confident. And it would take a much longer conversation to really kind of flesh this out entirely. We're just a very sort of a, summary of the conversation that probably is being had. Front offices in the NBA, coaching staffs, college and in the NBA, professional basketball, kind of everywhere. This is just kind of where you're at right now.
Right. And I just thought of something too, like Jose Perez. You mentioned him being that mid-range guy, and when teams play zone and he's coming to, they said the foul line to get the ball and either drive or dish. How does that play in to your analytics? A guy that can handle, or not yours, but how do you think that plays into the analytics for a player like Perez that is so? And again, you're not going to see too much zone in the NBA, but for the college game, that's just that kind of player that can do that multifaceted stuff from, like you said, if a team's playing heavy zone.
Well, this is the thing is, how accurate that these tools are at identifying coverage schemes. Is it a matchup? Is it a pure zone? Is it man-to-man? And then also accounting for all the variables of a team. So like on a lot of teams, 2-point field goals are not good. But what if your team's a really bad 3-point shooting team, including on open threes, which ASU is a bad 3-point shooting team?
Right.
Well, in that scenario, you have to be more likely to lean on the things that do kind of work for you, even if on a more macro analytics level, they're not as effective. So in this particular team, it does seem to make sense why you'd want to try to get the ball to Jose Perez at the sweet spot or the free throw line extended, as you're saying, against zones. You have to do that anyways. You have to get the ball to where it needs to be against zones. You're not just going to, run the ball around the perimeter and fire up a three with different guys every time. So you still have to adjust to the style of the opponent's defense and what it is that you do well or not well as part of this.
Right. And then, okay, so you said ASU's obviously not a good 3-point shooting team, but when you said the numbers,
Michael, they're one of the worst.
No, I was going to say, no, tell everybody the numbers, because I knew it wasn't good, but I did not think it was as bad as when we were talking about that yesterday.
Well, their overall offensive efficiency in the half court is 352nd nationally out of 362, which, they're literally one of the worst teams that there are. And they miss a lot of easy shots, right? But they're not terrible at missing easy shots. But so they're like somewhere around 100th, I think in the high 90s in terms of open shots that are missed on the interior, in the paint area. Or
because you've talked about that all year. Like, it's not like they're forcing bad shots at the end of a shot clock. They've had good looks and open shots. It's just not going down.
So overall, their shot selection is average.
Okay.
Right? It's really not good, but it's not bad. But they do miss a lot of open shots relative to everybody in the country. And that would make sense when you have one of the worst shooting teams from an overall net efficiency standpoint, which they are. So this team would need to be one of the best shot quality teams in the country to be an average half court offense.
Right.
But the reality is that they're an average shot selection team that shoots the ball really poorly, which then means, of course, that they are a mediocre offense.
Right. I was going to say, you don't need the algorithms and crazy analytics to realize when the numbers are going down, it's going to be very bad. All right. Lastly, before I get you out of here, I saw today that, or maybe it was yesterday, that so football obviously getting ready. Kenny Dillingham getting ready for his second spring, but the spring game's going to be a Friday night, which we haven't seen too often in Sun Devil country. But what are you expecting? Just from obviously everything they've done recruiting wise, but from Coach Dillingham and his staff's second spring.
Yeah, so they're about a month away from starting. They'll start in the 26th, I think, maybe of March.
Yeah, like right after spring break, right?
Yeah, like a week after spring break or something like that. And then they'll be, as you said, I think April 26th, they'll wrap it up. And Friday night, late April, that's like should be great weather. I personally think that you're never going to find a time or date or time of day that's going to work for everybody. It's like some people are already saying, well, they got flag football things going on Friday night. Okay, sure. But then on Saturday, there's lots of other things that people are doing. And on the weeknights, there's lots of things that people are doing. And during the day, people don't want to go because it's hot or whatever. So I think I think it makes a lot of sense to do it on a Friday night in the stadium. And look, for the second year in a row, they'll have a ton of new players that you're having to familiarize yourself with. This is the nature of college football. You're going to get tons of transfers that you're looking to have immediately make a big impact. We got to see what's going to happen at the quarterback position. All eyes there between Sam Levitt, Jaden Rashada, Trenton Bourget. They have 4, I think, Division I transfer offensive linemen. Those were the 2 positions that I think held the team back more than anywhere else last season. They also replaced their outgoing front 7 guys who were really important with transfers, multiple linebackers who have played a lot at the non-Power 4 level, but very successfully. And then a couple guys up front that you're looking to try to replace Deshaun Mallory and BJ Green with. And so you got to just get a sense of all these things. There's not one thing, but if you had to say one thing, quarterback position is the most important on the field, of course, and ASU needs to take a big jump there. You need to get better play, point blank, out of the guys that you have under center there. So that's probably the biggest focus.
Yeah, between Rashada and Levitt, looking forward to that competition, and yes, to see how the secondary looks, because obviously, Ro Torrance, Chris Edmonds in the draft. Do you think I did kind of fib? Do you think last? Do you think one of them or both of them, or like either one of them get drafted in the 7 rounds, Torrance and or Edmonds?
Unlikely. Ro Torrance, the only NFL Combine invite,
right,
for ASU. I think he's a day 3 at best guy, which on average means you're probably not going to get drafted. Can't rule it out. Obviously, he's got good size, measurables. He's got length. I think he did a disservice earlier in his career. He was utilized ineffectively by Donnie Henderson in that 2022 season. Right. Last season, I think that he was utilized much better, and I think that he really actually improved quite a bit even as the season went on. I think he's a good kid. I like him. I think that he's right about if he can play in a system that plays a lot of bump coverage, where he can get his hands on guys and kind of steer them, and then use his big body to run with and be a difficult to throw around him type of a guy. Then he has a chance. But to me, he's somebody who will not be assured of making a roster. He's more somebody that's going to have to go in and have a really strong camp, and also be on the team that has, the secondary cornerback, especially, not be a strength and also be a good fit. So there's a lot of things that have to come together for him. Chris Edmonds, I like him, but I think that they used him a lot more in the box this past season. Yep. And I don't think that his instincts were as good against the run. So the film isn't going to be as good against the run. And then there's a steeper learning curve to be able to do that. He's got good instincts when he can play at depth and be able to play in zone and read coverages and route development, field route development, such that he can get to where the ball is. He's got good ball skills for his size. So there's some tangible things that I like there. I don't know that the entire package is as developed yet for the NFL level. But one thing that, before we get out, is the UFL now when you have this merging of these leagues. I mentioned that, Manny Wilkins looks like he's got a chance, and other former ASU players are going to get a chance. I do think that there is some additional honing, fine-tuning development that can happen with some of these guys that are younger coming out. And it may be a Chris Edmonds or a Torrance or somebody else on the roster that then actually could springboard them into another opportunity, or at first opportunity at the NFL level. Like Donovan West, he got cut in camp. He left school a year early. If he had stayed another year, I think maybe he has a better chance. Well, now he's going to get to go show what he can do at this level. And so there's an opportunity now, I think, for guys that maybe wasn't as present previously.
Right. And I know it's been a minute, but you and I talked about that. I remember even towards like the middle of the season, just the difference in Ro Torrance. And I was with you because, it was frustrating to see a longer physical corner like that in 2022 not be able to show all those skills, and getting to put that more so on tape this year. And to your point, growing. And when we talked about it, I just, like I said, you're right, if it's day 3 and a team takes it on him, a team takes a chance on him, I think, I'm with you. You can't coach that length, that corner. And in this day and age, that is a huge commodity. And like you said too, to be able to run with the guys, get your hands on them, but run with them as well. That's just huge for him. So, hey, my friend, as always, I'd so much thank you for jumping in. Territorial Cup Day. I know I'll see you tonight. And like I said, even if they don't win, it can't be by 45. That's all I'm saying, Chris. I don't think if it's another 45-point game, I don't know. I'm at a loss. I actually will be at a loss for words.
Well, that was the largest margin of victory by either team in the rivalry. So the odds of that happening again are obviously quite low. So, but we'll be there and we'll find out.
Absolutely. Well, hey, I will see you tonight. But again, thank you so much for jumping in. And let's go Devils tonight. Beat those Cats. And that is Chris Karpman of Sun Devil Source, the publisher of Sun Devil Source for 24/7 Sports. Always love when he jumps in with me. And just the level of analytics when he was talking there, like it's not confusing when you first hear, like, wow. But when you just break it down and listen to what they're saying about how they can do with contested shots, off pick and rolls, off, catch and shoot, whether, catch, you take a dribble to reset and shoot. It's insane. And yes, the unfortunate part is ASU has missed a lot of good quality shots. Like they are quality shots. They're good shots, but they didn't sink them. And that is the tough and frustrating part. So that is the challenge, to say the least. But I digress, and we're going to take a quick break. And in doing that, after we do that, we'll wrap everything up. Got again, women's hoops going on tomorrow and Saturday, not tomorrow and not Friday, Sunday. Tomorrow, Saturday, as they get ready for the Pac-12 tournament. But yeah, we'll take a quick break and wrap the show up on the other side. So stay tuned for more Pitchfork Lunch. And we are back here on Pitchfork Lunch again. If you just missed Chris Karpman, subscribe to the YouTube channel, kids. It's at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat 005 at MVC005 on YouTube. Subscribe. Great preview of tonight's game. Men's Hoops, Territorial Cup points on the line as that team from down south comes up to Tempe to take on the Devils. And like Chris just said, it was the biggest margin of victory in the history of the rivalry. So hence, probably don't expect to see that again. And a much more, like I said, focused, but, angry, but focused Devils team. And Coach Hurley, you heard him before Chris came on, saying that he was, interested to see how his, he knows how he would react, but how guys react. And pardon me. And how guys react. And it's one of those things where when you think about it, it's you would expect, obviously, again, you can't just, yes, a revenge factor is there. It's a rivalry game, but yes, there needs to be that focus to drive, and yes, get the good shots, play that defense, force them into, you push them very late into the shot clock and they force some shots up and they hit a few. Just tip your cap to them. You did what you could, but you keep playing it, because as they miss a few and you get stops, and the glass is going to be huge. That's why I asked Chris about Jemiah Neal and Frankie Collins. I mean, guards coming back to rebound, but Sean Phillips Jr., again, needs to be big on the glass. Brian Salabonga, when he's in there, Alonzo Gaffney, when they're in the game, like, you need to be huge on the glass. And, Salabonga talks about the energy, and he's brought the energy all year. So he talks about being that energy guy. Well, when he gets in, he's going to need to do that. And like you said, just position himself and, box out. Heck, pick up a few over the back fouls on some of the U of A bigs. Nothing wrong with that, right? We will all take that. Hey, don't forget hockey playing Friday and Saturday, and that is their last home series of the season. So you guys know. Yes, it is their last home series of the season, and they have 4 games left. And like I said, these are the 2 that are, and they're going to be hosting Long Island on Friday and Saturday, Long Island University. So, hey man, if you can, get on out to Mullet Arena. They are, they are number 20. They're ranked number 20. So, and like I said, as they get set to play Long Island, they are 21-7-6 overall. Again, like I said, 17-5-4 is absolutely dominant at home, and then 4-2-2 on the road. I can't, like I said, I mean, that's doing a lot, and obviously winning at a high clip. So they play Long Island this weekend again, Friday, Saturday, 7 p.m. Friday, 5 p.m. Saturday, and then they go up to Alaska Anchorage, who they have already beaten twice this year. It was 4-3 back on November 17th, the Friday night game, and then it was a 3-0 shutout on the November 19th, the Sunday game. It was a 3-0 shutout. Yeah, it was a 3-0 shutout. And It was a 3-0 shutout over Alaska Anchorage. So again, they're headed back up to Alaska. So a little frequent flyer miles building up for the Sun Devils hockey team is 2 of their last 4 road trips. You know, they had Alaska Fairbanks at home, then they went to Alaska Fairbanks, and then now over to Long Island at home, and then to Alaska Anchorage to close out the season. But sorry about that. I do not know what happened. Little glitch there. But nonetheless, I don't know what happened. I got booted out. I don't know if you heard that. So hockey is playing Long Island, their last home series of the weekend, Friday at 7, Saturday at 5, and then they close out at Alaska Anchorage, who they've already beaten twice this year, back in November. Friday, Sunday series, it was 4-3 on Friday, then 3-0 on that Sunday. So again, looking to close out 4 in a row, and Long Island, like I said, 16, 18, and 1. Or 16, 18, and 2, was it? 16, 18, and 1 this season. So, again, with ASU being 21, 7, and 6, definitely not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. So, but again, get on out to Mullet Arena this weekend. Like I said, 21, 7, and 6. They win 4 in a row, 25 wins. Again, I know they're number 20 to 16, but they would have presented a very, 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 very insanely strong case to get a shot at regionals, NCAA regionals, and obviously seeing if they could advance to the Frozen Four. So, again, we shall see how it goes down. But, yeah, regionals, by the way, March 28th through 31st. And then April 11th through 13th, obviously the Frozen Four will be taking place. So that's the schedule there. But yeah, women's hoops, again, they got the LA schools here at home Thursday and Sunday. Or Thursday and Saturday. God, I got Thursday right. So Thursday, Saturday, women's hoops. And then, yeah, we'll hit more tomorrow. But again, if you missed the interview with Chris Karpman, again, previewing tonight's Territorial Cup matchup, go to the YouTube channel, subscribe. It's at Evans and Michael, V's and Victory C's and Cat 005 at MVC 005 on YouTube, and subscribe. You can check me out. Hit me up at Diablo00, as you see on the screen on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, where you can check out the show live every day. And also my IG, michael.carrotsnudo.5. And that is, that is everything. So again, hey, if you get out to DFA tonight, don't sell your tickets to anybody rooting for that team down south. Do not come out, be loud. No let's help run the kitty cats out of the gym tonight. But it'll be a tough one. Obviously, a big challenge. So I am going to get out of here. Everybody have a great rest of your Wednesday. Mike, what day is it? Yes, that's for Mama. Anyway, have a great rest of your day, and you know it. Pitchfork Lunchers, as always, forks up.
Terry's three. Johnny Walker matching up against control. His shot. Bruce score. They score. They tie the game up 2-2. Some drives out for Robbie Ryan. Her three right on the money. This is Taya Hansen for three. Other side of the rim with a pretty reverse. Wow. 5-7.